All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling education. Well, no, not exactly. No pop quizzes here. You sent in some really cool stuff about curriculum and instruction. Specifically, this chapter, Curriculum and Instruction Defined by Oliva and Gordon. We'll unpack it all and see why it matters to you. Ever wonder how schools decide what to teach? Or like how teaching methods connect to the curriculum?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Get ready for some aha moments.
This chapter is not just theory, it's really practical stuff about how learning happens.
Totally. So let's start with the chapter's learning objectives. It's like our roadmap for this deep dive. We're going to define curriculum, see how it's different from instruction, and even see if curriculum is its own whole field of study. First up, what exactly is curriculum?
Right. Is it just like a stack of textbooks?
Right.
It's way more than that.
Okay.
You've probably heard curriculum used in a narrow sense, right? Like just the subjects taught. But this chapter says it's all the learning of school guides.
Inside and outside the classroom.
Both, yeah.
That's cool. So it's not just the textbooks. It's also like, remember that field trip to the planetarium when we were learning about space?
Exactly. Or an after-school robotics club that ties into the science curriculum. Even things like how the school's culture encourages problem solving.
It's all part of that experience. But here's the thing.
Right.
This chapter makes it clear. Curriculum is built, designed, revised, and evaluated. It's not static. It's always evolving.
And what's cool is we can all influence that.
Yeah.
As parents, students, just people who care about education, we can advocate, give feedback, really help shape how it develops.
That's empowering. So where does instruction fit into this? Are they just two sides of the same coin, curriculum and instruction?
Well, you could say curriculum is the what? The content, the goals, and instruction is the how, the methods teachers use. But it's tricky.
It can't be that simple. Right.
Right, because you can have an amazing curriculum on paper, but if the instruction isn't good,
engaging, effective.
Yeah, the learning just won't happen.
Yeah, for sure.
To understand this, the chapter gives us these four models: dualistic, interlocking, concentric, and cyclical. First, the dualistic model. Imagine curriculum and instruction are totally separate, like two departments in a company that never talk.
Oh, I can see how that would be bad.
Right.
Like a math curriculum, it's all about real-world problem solving, but the instruction is all rote memorization of formulas.
Total disconnect.
Right.
Now, the interlocking model, they fit together, like gears in a machine.
Okay, so the curriculum's focused on hands-on science experiments.
Yes.
The instruction has to involve, like, actual experiments.
Yes, they work together. Now, the concentric models get interesting. Picture curriculum as the roots of a tree and instruction as the branches.
Or the other way around.
Yeah. Either way, they depend on each other.
Yeah, to grow and be healthy.
Exactly. And then there's a cyclical model, which is all about feedback.
Okay.
Like a teacher sees students struggling with a concept, so they change how they're teaching it, maybe using more visuals. Then that feedback informs how the curriculum is revised for next year. It's a loop.
A loop of improvement. So no matter what model you look at, curriculum and instruction are super connected. But then the chapter asks, can curriculum be its auto bien discipline? Like history or science?
Whoa, hold on.
Right. I mean, we usually think of it as part of a discipline.
It's a good point. It does seem to have those characteristics, though.
Yeah. It's got its own knowledge base, principles, theories about learning, how to design learning experiences.
And there are specific skills involved, like making curriculum maps, assessments. And there are literal curriculum specialists whose whole job is this.
So it's not just some abstract idea. It's a field with experts shaping how we learn.
Exactly.
But it's not just experts calling all the shots.
It can't be.
Yeah.
It's got to be a team effort, right? To develop effective curriculum, you need teachers, specialists, administrators, and even students and parents, bringing everyone to the table to make those learning experiences really hit home.
I love that it's not top-down, it's collaborative. Speaking of collaboration, something that really stuck with me from the source material was the whole idea of curriculum purpose. It's not just what we teach, it's WHY, right? And what we want students to get out of it.
That why is huge EE. It links what's taught to bigger goals and values. Are we passing on knowledge, building critical thinking skills, prepping them for jobs, or all of it? Those answers really shape the curriculum.
And that's where these different approaches come in, like the essentialist, child-centered, and reconstructionist curriculum contexts.
Yeah. Each one has different values and priorities, for sure.
So with essentialism, it seems to be about teaching, like that core knowledge and skills, the stuff everyone should know.
Exactly. Classic literature, history facts, basic math concepts, the foundation of knowledge, you could say.
Like the greatest hits of human knowledge.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Then there's the child-centered approach, which focuses on each kid's individual needs and interests. Think hands-on activities, exploration, letting students follow their passions.
So instead of memorizing a list of facts, it's more about creating an environment where kids can explore their own talents and interests. It's like that saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish, you feed him for life.
I like that. And then there's the Reconstructionist curriculum, which is all about social justice and empowering students to be agents of change.
So it's not just learning facts, it's about using them to make a real difference in the world. All these approaches would lead to such different experiences in the classroom, right?
Definitely. And it shows that curriculum decisions are never neutral. They reflect values and priorities, so understanding these philosophies helps us have better conversations about what we want our schools to achieve.
Absolutely. We've talked about the purpose of the curriculum, but we can't forget about the real world around it either.
Right. This chapter emphasizes that curriculum doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's influenced by everything. Social stuff, political, economic, cultural forces.
Yeah, like think about the debates around climate change and social justice. They end up in the curriculum, whether it's updated science standards or new history books.
For sure. And as society keeps changing, the curriculum has to keep adapting too, to stay relevant and meet the needs of today's learners.
It's a balancing act then, right? Staying true to those philosophies, but also responding to what's going on outside the classroom.
And that's where those specialists come in, the curriculum specialists. They're the ones who can help navigate that and make sure the curriculum stays up to date.
Like, they're the architects, always checking the blueprints and making sure everything's structurally sound and up to code.
I love that. So far, we've looked at what curriculum is, how it connects to instruction, the different philosophies and contexts that shape it, but it's all been a bit theoretical so far, you could say.
Totally. The foundation is there, but now I'm ready for the practical stuff.
Okay, great. But before we get into that, I'm curious, what stood out to you so far? What's piqued your interest?
Yeah, what's resonating with you, honestly, for me, it's how connected it all is. This whole web of curriculum, instruction, philosophies, the pressures from society, it all comes together to shape what happens in the classroom. It makes you realize education is way more complex than we think.
It really is. And it gets even more complex when you look at how curriculum actually plays out.
In the real world.
Yeah, like with the teachers who are making it all happen in their classrooms.
Right. They're the ones taking those big ideas and turning them into lessons and activities that kids can actually connect with.
And how they teach. The instruction part, that's where the real magic happens. The source makes it clear good teaching isn't just about telling kids stuff. It's about creating an environment where they can really build their own understanding.
It's like the difference between memorizing facts and actually being able to use them to solve problems, to think for themselves.
Exactly. And to do that, teachers need a ton of different strategies in their toolbox. Things like project-based learning, where students work together on real problems.
Oh, and what about using tech? Like integrating digital tools to personalize the experience, right?
Definitely. It's like the difference between reading a cookbook and actually cooking.
Totally. You can learn a lot from reading, but you really learn by doing, by experimenting, even messing up sometimes.
And those mess-ups are super important. That's how we get feedback, reflect, and ultimately grow. Remember that cyclical model we talked about? It's all about learning and adapting and getting better all the time.
Speaking of getting better, the source also talks about how important it is to evaluate the curriculum. We can't just create it and forget about it. We have to constantly check if it's working, right?
Absolutely. Evaluation helps us see what's working, what needs tweaking, and what needs a total revamp. It's how we make sure the curriculum actually meets the needs of students and keeps up with the world.
It's like those software updates on your phone, Sometimes it's just a small fix, but sometimes you get a whole new set of features.
Perfect analogy. And all of this comes back to those big questions. What do we want our education system to achieve? What should future generations know to thrive?
Those are huge questions. And like we've seen, the answers aren't simple. Curriculum isn't one size fits all. It's got to be dynamic. It has to evolve. It takes open conversations, working together, and a willingness to change.
So well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of curriculum and instruction, what's the main thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that curriculum isn't just some document gathering dust. It's alive. It's constantly shaping education at its core.
Right.
And it deserves our attention, our critical thought, and our participation.
That's a perfect way to put it. And as we said earlier, this is just the start. Keep exploring these ideas, ask questions, challenge what you think you know, and become a part of shaping the future of education.
Because in the end, it's on all of us to make sure the curriculum gives every student what they need to succeed in this crazy, ever-changing world. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep those minds curious and keep diving deep.